Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a how I did video. This is absolutely not a how-to video. I don't make how-to videos, and the reason I don't make how-to videos is because I probably never do things the right way. This is a how I did video, and it is how I painted my new very bright yellow kitchen recycling bin to a gunmetal silver to make it go with the rest of my kitchen. So why do I have a brand new bright yellow recycling bin if I don't want a bright yellow recycling bin? Well, I got this in the Dunelm sale, and the bright yellow was reduced to £35, where the silver was still £70. I was not going to pay £70 for a bin when I could get the same bin for £35, and at first I thought perhaps I could just live with the yellow, but it is very bright yellow, and my kitchen is a kind of a tealy aquary blue shade. It didn't work. Just didn't work. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not particularly house proud, as most of you will know already. I do have a bit of a thing for colour coordination. I like things to go in the room. So I decided that I would paint the bin silver, and I've got some paint that I picked up in either B&M or Home Bargains. B&M, I think. B&M. It cost me less than 10 quid for the paint, so even accounting for that extra cost, it will still cost me £45 in all instead of £70 to buy one in silver in the first place. So I masked off my garden table because I didn't really want to spray paint that, and I began by just trying to key the surface a bit, by which I mean scoring it down. That's not sandpaper I'm using, it's a really coarse pad, kind of soft but really coarse pad, which my son supplied, just to take off the gloss surface of the bin. You need to do this, I believe, so that the paint will have something to stick to. That's why it's called giving it a key to stick to. And as you can see, whenever you start any kind of project where there is a man in the locality, they have to come along and do a bit of mansplaining and tell you whether you're doing it right or not. So there he is, popping along to make sure that I know how to rub things with a cloth, and checking my work and generally making sure that I'm not completely useless. Off he went eventually, left me to it. He didn't want to do the job, he just wanted to make sure that I was doing the job correctly. And I carried on and sanded it down. I gave it a really good kind of rub down all over, and you can just about see where the colour is changing slightly. You can see where it's going pale, where I'm just taking off that gloss surface. When I had given it a key finish all over, taken off that gloss all around, I got a very slightly damp cloth, really not wet at all, and just wiped it all over, because you need to take the dust off, otherwise, as I'm told, the dust particles will prevent the paint sticking properly. So wiped it down with just a very slightly damp cloth all over, and then left that to dry thoroughly before I began to mask it up. So I just wanted to cover every bit of the surface that I didn't want to get the spray paint on with masking tape or paper. So that is basically all the black plastic areas and the pedals there on the pedal bin. I came up against my first issue, which was that the roll of masking tape you see there is clearly substandard. It would not come off in decent strips, it came off in tiny little shreds, and within moments I was about to flip my lid with it. Luckily, Anthony had some other tape in the back of his van, so I came back, and he had some decent frog tape as well, because he does painting and decorating jobs. So I came back with that and got the job done, but it did take a while to mask up all of the areas that needed covering. Finally though, it's all masked up, and I think I'm pretty much ready to start painting. So I've got 2 cans of spray paint here. I'm starting with the grey primer, which is Turner and Grey grey primer, and then I've got the Rust-Oleum gunmetal finish top coat. Both of these came from B&M. The primer was $3.99 and the gunmetal metallic top coat was $5.99. Now, I was reliably informed that you got to shake your cans forever, so I shook my cans until my arm thought it was going to fall off. I promise you I've trimmed this footage so you wouldn't have to watch me shaking that can for the best part of 20 minutes. And then it was time to make a start, so I began spraying. And now if you work in a car body shop at this point, you've probably got your head in your hands going, woman, that is not how you spray paint. Do not be afraid, there's a man in the background and in a minute he'll come and make me do it right. There we go, I've had my little tutorial and now you can see my technique is much improved. And once it had its first coat of primer all over, I basically had to leave it to dry for about 10-15 minutes. So I went and sat in the sun with a book and came back when it was time to give it a top coat. So this paint now is the Rust-Oleum gunmetal finish, and it went on a bit differently to the primer. It went on a bit more stripy. I'm not sure if that was my technique or whether it's just because it's got the metallic finish in it. Because of the stripiness, I ended up having to give this a couple of coats, but it did dry very, very quickly in between coats. I think I sat down for maybe 5 or 10 minutes in between each time just to make sure that it was dry, and it went on really, really well in the end. So this is how it looked after it had the first top coat, and then I left this to dry and came back and just touched it up a bit with a second coat. And then while that second coat was drying, I popped upstairs and used my Cricut to make some labels for the top so that people will put the right recycling into the right slot. This didn't take very long. It took me longer to get the Cricut flipping app to update than it did to make the labels. Not a sponsored video, by the way. I paid for my Cricut with my own money. But yes, I made my labels and then it was time for unmasking. I did discover at this point that my masking tape technique needs a little bit of polish. There are a little few yellow bits poking through. You possibly can't see them at this angle, but I think in a minute I pick the camera up and show you my fails, because you know I'm a big believer in showing people that I'm far from perfect. There's Anthony showing me I'm far from perfect. Look, there we go, see. Big believer in letting the world know that I am far from perfect. I'm pleased with it anyway. I can spray a little bit of the top coat probably onto a piece of cardboard and then use a tiny brush to touch up the little bits where my masking tape didn't go quite according to plan. There's just a few tiny bits of yellow showing through, but I'm still very, very pleased. When you tip this up, you can see under the pedals there's a couple of bits of yellow, but again, I don't think you guys can see it, which means, to be fair, if anybody comes into my home, peers at my recycling bin and goes, why is that bit yellow, they're probably not kind of visitors that I want anyway, are they? So the last task then was to put the Cricut labels onto the various sections. I've got one for cardboard, and then one for plastic, one for tin. This is the Cricut Smart Vinyl, and it's actually quite difficult to use. It does not peel off very easily from its backing paper. But once the job was done, I was pleased with the result. And there is the finished article. It's not perfect. There are some tiny bits of yellow which I will need to touch up with the paint at some point. And to be fair, you can still see a couple of stripes where my paint job isn't the best it could be. But it's no longer bright yellow, and I'm really pleased with it. Quite a lot of yellow showing on the back, but who's going to see that? That's going to be against the wall. I am very pleased with it, and definitely better than spending £70 just to have a silver one in the first place. It's the exact same bin, it was just the wrong colour. There it is in situ. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.